Are your muscles feeling weaker, even though you're eating right and staying active? Maybe you've noticed that climbing stairs leaves you more winded than it used to, or getting up from a chair takes more effort. You might chalk it up to aging, but what if I told you there's a hidden deficiency behind this loss of strength? And most people over 50 don't even know they have it. Here's what's really going on inside your body. After age 50, your muscle tissue becomes more vulnerable to atrophy. But it's not just about age, it's about nutrients. You see, your muscles are incredibly metabolically active. They require constant input from vitamins, minerals, and hormones to stay strong, respond to exercise, and recover from daily stress. And one deficiency, in particular, derails that entire process. It's not protein, it's not even testosterone. The real problem is a deficiency in vitamin D. Now, that might surprise you. Most people associate vitamin D with bones, and yes, it's crucial for calcium absorption, but what the research shows is that vitamin D is absolutely essential for healthy muscle contraction, protein synthesis, insulin signaling, and mitochondrial function. Low vitamin D, your muscles stop responding properly to exercise, your strength declines, recovery slows, fatigue sets in, and over time, this leads to something called sarcopenia, age muscle loss. And here's the kicker. Over 60% of adults over 50 are either deficient or insufficient in vitamin D, especially those living in northern climates with darker skin or who avoid sun exposure. In today's video, we're going to break this down in simple terms. Why vitamin D is so critical for preserving muscle strength, especially after 50. How this deficiency weakens your muscle tissue, mitochondria, and metabolism. The signs you might be low, even if your blood work says normal. The exact food, supplements, and timing that can reverse this quickly. How to combine vitamin D with key cofactors like magnesium, K2, and sunlight for maximum absorption. And how this one fix can protect you from falls, fractures, and fatigue without needing medication. If you're serious about aging strong, preventing muscle loss, and keeping your energy up, this one vitamin could be the game changer. Let's dive in. So let's start with the basics. What does vitamin D actually do for your muscles? Most people think of vitamin D as the sunshine vitamin that helps absorb calcium for strong bones. And while that's true, it barely scratches the surface. Here's what's really going on inside your muscle cells. Your muscles, especially the fast twitch fibers responsible for strength and power, have something called vitamin D receptors, or VDRs. These are like tiny docking stations. When activated by vitamin D, they trigger a cascade of cellular processes that stimulate muscle protein synthesis, support muscle cell growth and repair, improve neuromuscular signaling, which is your brain's ability to communicate with your muscles, and activate mitochondria, the tiny energy factories that keep your muscles working efficiently. Let me explain this with a simple analogy. Imagine your muscle is like a light bulb. The switch is your nervous system. The wires are your hormones. But without electricity, without vitamin D, nothing turns on. Vitamin D is the electricity that powers muscle contraction. Now here's where it gets really interesting. When vitamin D levels drop, several key things happen. Mitochondria in your muscle cells underperform. That means lower ATP, your energy currency, which translates into quicker fatigue, slower recovery, and less endurance. This is why low D can make your muscles feel weak or shaky even when you're not doing much. Calcium regulation inside your muscle fibers becomes impaired. Calcium is what triggers your muscles to contract. Without enough vitamin D, calcium can't get into the right channels in your muscle tissue, so your contractions become less forceful and more prone to cramping or spasms. Muscle regeneration slows down. After exercise or injury, your muscles rely on satellite cells, a type of stem cell, to rebuild and repair. Research shows vitamin D deficiency limits the activation of these repair cells. Now, you might be thinking, okay, that's all fascinating, but what does the research say? In one large-scale review published in the Journal of Clinical Endocrinology and Metabolism, researchers found that low vitamin D levels were strongly correlated with poor muscle function, even in people who didn't show outward signs of deficiency. Another 2020 study in Nutrients found that vitamin D supplementation significantly improved muscle strength and performance in older adults, especially in those who were previously deficient. And here's the most surprising part. When researchers gave older patients vitamin D supplements, just 2,000 to 4,000 IU per day, many experience noticeable improvements in grip strength and walking speed in as little as 6 to 12 weeks. So if you're over 50 and struggling with muscle fatigue, slow strength gains, or that tired legs feeling, it might not be aging, it might be a lack of vitamin D inside your muscle tissue. Now, you might be asking, but I've had my vitamin D tested and it looked normal. We'll address that in a later section because standard lab tests can be misleading. But first, let's talk about a deeper issue: how low vitamin D levels cripple your mitochondrial energy production and why this makes you tired and weak even if you're getting enough protein or sleep. But before we move on, if this has been helpful so far, consider subscribing. I post content like this every day: science-based, root cause solutions to help you build strength, restore energy, and age naturally without relying on medications. Now, let's get into the energy side of muscle weakness. Now that we understand how vitamin D activates muscle function, let's zoom in on a critical player inside those muscle cells: the mitochondria, your body's energy factories. Mitochondria are responsible for producing ATP, which is the fuel your muscles use to contract, recover, and stay active. When your mitochondria are strong, you feel energized, your muscles respond quickly, recovery is smooth. But here's the catch: your mitochondria need vitamin D to work properly. Without it, the entire energy system inside your muscle starts to collapse. Let me explain with a simple analogy. Think of your mitochondria as tiny power plants inside your cells. They convert fuel from fat, carbs, or ketones into electricity, or ATP. But these power plants don't just run on fuel. They also need a regulatory manager to keep everything efficient, clean, and balanced. Vitamin D is that manager. When you're deficient in vitamin D, your mitochondria become sluggish, ATP production drops, free radicals rise, and oxidative stress damages muscle fibers from the inside out. This is why you might feel muscle fatigue before you feel actual weakness, because the energy simply isn't getting made. Now, here's where things get even more important. As we age, our mitochondrial function naturally declines. This is part of why older adults often feel lower energy. But when you stack a vitamin D deficiency on top of that, it's like removing the spark plug from an already tired engine. In fact, several studies now show a direct link between low vitamin D and poor mitochondrial efficiency in skeletal muscle. One 2021 study in Frontiers in Physiology found that vitamin D deficient subjects had 40% lower mitochondrial oxidative capacity compared to those with optimal D levels. That means their muscles burned less fuel, made less energy, and fatigued faster. Here's the problem: this isn't just about energy. When your mitochondria underperform, your entire metabolic system takes a hit. Muscle cells become insulin resistant, recovery slows, fat burning decreases, and inflammation increases, which further damages your muscle tissue. So we end up in a vicious cycle: low vitamin D, weak mitochondria, muscle fatigue and inflammation, less movement, and even more muscle loss. The good news? You can reverse this, and surprisingly fast. Here's how. Get your vitamin D tested, but don't just rely on normal ranges. Optimal levels for mitochondrial health are often between 50 to 70 ng/ml, not just the 30 ng/ml minimum used by labs. More on this in the next section. Take the right form of vitamin D3. D3 cholecalciferol is far more bioavailable than D2. Look for micellized or oil-based D3, ideally paired with vitamin K2 for better utilization and calcium management. Get real sunlight exposure on your skin. Just 15 to 30 minutes a day, depending on your skin tone and location, can provide a metabolic spark for your mitochondria. Support mitochondrial health through movement. Even light resistance training, walking or rebounding, can activate mitochondrial biogenesis. And with proper vitamin D, you'll finally get results. Pair with magnesium. Without magnesium, your body cannot activate vitamin D into its usable hormonal form, calcitriol. We'll break that down in more detail later. So if your muscles feel drained, your workouts leave you more tired than energized, or you're not recovering like you used to, check your vitamin D. You might be running on empty at the mitochondrial level. Now, we'll talk about the lab tests, why many people are told their vitamin D is fine, even when it's functionally too low to support muscle health. Now, this might surprise you. Many people over 50 who have muscle weakness, fatigue, or poor recovery get their vitamin D levels tested, and the results say everything is normal. But here's the problem. Normal is not optimal. Let me explain. Most standard blood tests check for a form of vitamin D called 25-hydroxy vitamin D or 25-OHD. This is the storage form of vitamin D, the amount circulating in your blood, not necessarily the amount your cells are actually using. Think of 25-OHD like groceries in your kitchen. Just because you have food on the shelf doesn't mean your body is digesting it and turning it into energy. What your muscles really need is the active form called 1,25-dihydroxy vitamin D or calcitriol. And this part isn't usually tested unless you request it. So someone could have 25-OHD levels in the normal lab range, say 30 to 35 m/ml, but still have poor absorption, low intracellular activation, and major deficiency symptoms, including muscle pain, weakness, cramps, and even insulin resistance. Now, let's add another layer. Vitamin D activation is a two-step process. It's first converted in the liver, then it's activated in the kidneys and also locally inside tissues like muscle and immune cells. This means if you have poor liver function, kidney stress, or a deficiency in key cofactors like magnesium, your vitamin D may never reach its active, usable form, even if your test says you have enough. And here's what the research shows. A 2019 study in the Journal of Steroid Biochemistry found that many people with muscle weakness and fatigue had low intracellular vitamin D activity despite normal 25-OHD levels. Another study in Nutrients showed that people with chronic inflammation, including insulin resistance and metabolic syndrome, had impaired vitamin D activation inside cells, leading to functional deficiency. This is especially true after age 50, when gut absorption of fat-soluble vitamins decreases, liver and kidney function begin to slow, and magnesium, required for every step of vitamin D metabolism, is often deficient due to poor diet or stress. So what can you do about it? Here's the protocol I recommend for anyone over 50 who wants to optimize their muscle health through vitamin D. 1. Aim for 25 OHE levels between 50 to 70 am/ml. This is well within the safe zone and provides the most benefit for muscle, immune, and metabolic function. 2. Use vitamin D3, not D2. D2 ergocalciferol is cheaper but far less effective. D3 is the form your skin produces from sunlight and it lasts longer in the body. 3. Take D3 with fat, ideally with your largest meal of the day. Vitamin D is fat soluble and absorption improves dramatically when taken with dietary fat. 4. Add magnesium, 300 to 400 milligrams per day from citrate, glycinate, or malate. Without magnesium, your liver can't convert D3 into 25-OHD and your tissues stay deficient. 5. Consider testing for 1,25-dihydroxy vitamin D if symptoms persist despite normal lab results. 6. Don't rely solely on supplements. Sunlight exposure, especially 10 to 20 minutes on bare skin mid-morning or late afternoon, triggers your body's own vitamin D production, which behaves differently and may be more bioavailable than synthetic sources. This is how we move from good enough to optimal. And if you've found this valuable so far, consider subscribing. I post content like this every day to help you take full control of your health with simple, science-based solutions. Now, we'll talk about why vitamin D can't work alone and which nutrients and lifestyle choices are critical to unlock its full muscle strengthening potential. Now that we've covered how vitamin D supports your muscles, your mitochondria, and your metabolism, it's time for a reality check. Taking vitamin D alone might not be enough. That's because vitamin D is not a solo player. It's more like the conductor of an orchestra, but without the full team of cofactors, the music doesn't play. Let's break it down. For your body to activate and utilize vitamin D, several key nutrients and physiological steps must be in place. 1. Magnesium, the activator. Here's what's really going on. Vitamin D comes into your body in an inactive form. To convert it into its active hormone-like form, calcitriol, your body must perform a two-step activation process in the liver and kidneys, and magnesium is required at both steps. No magnesium, no activation. And this matters because up to 70% of adults over 50 are deficient in magnesium. That means even if you're taking 5,000 IU of vitamin D daily, it could remain inactive unless you correct your magnesium first. The solution? Supplement with 300 to 400 milligrams per day of magnesium glycinate, citrate, or malate. Include magnesium-rich foods like pumpkin seeds, spinach, avocados, almonds, and dark chocolate. Avoid overdoing calcium supplements which compete with magnesium too. Vitamin K2. The traffic controller. Once activated, vitamin D increases calcium absorption from your gut. That's good, unless the calcium ends up in your arteries, joints, or kidneys. This is where vitamin K2 comes in. K2 activates proteins that guide calcium into your bones and muscles and away from places it shouldn't be. Think of it like this. Vitamin D loads the truck with calcium. Vitamin K2 tells the truck where to deliver it safely. Without K2, that calcium can deposit in soft tissue, leading to stiffness, kidney stones, or even arterial calcification. The solution? Take vitamin D3 with K2, MK7 form, usually in a ratio of 100 to 1 mega K2 for every 1,000 IU of D3. Eat fermented foods like natto, aged cheeses, and pasture-raised eggs for natural K2-3. Sunlight, the metabolic signal, supplemental D3 helps raise your levels, but sunlight produces a different version of vitamin D that may have additional benefits. When UVB rays hit your skin, they create pre-vitamin D3, which goes through a more natural activation cycle, potentially enhancing its biological effectiveness. But here's the catch. You need bare skin exposure during the right time of day. Most people miss this by avoiding sun altogether or covering up with sunscreen and clothing. The solution: aim for 10 to 20 minutes of midday sun on arms and legs, depending on your skin tone and location. Avoid burning, but don't fear moderate, regular sunlight. Your hormones and circadian rhythm depend on it. For zinc and boron, the minor keys. These trace minerals play subtle but critical roles in maintaining vitamin D receptor sensitivity and hormone balance. Without them, vitamin D can't duck efficiently into your cells, and its muscle-supporting benefits are muted. The solution? Include zinc-rich foods like oysters, beef, and pumpkin seeds. Consider a low-dose boron supplement, 2 to 6 milligrams per day, or eat prunes, raisins, and almonds. So, if you've been taking vitamin D and not seeing results, or worse, feeling stiff or getting cramps, don't just raise the dose. Instead, complete the picture. Support it with magnesium, K2, sunlight, and trace minerals, and watch how your strength, energy, and recovery transform. Let's bring everything together now. You understand how vitamin D drives muscle strength, energy production, and recovery. You know why it's commonly deficient and how it won't work without magnesium, K2, and sunlight. Now, let's talk action. Here's a simple science-based daily protocol to restore muscle function naturally, especially after age 50. 1. Test. Don't guess. Start with a 25 OHD blood test. Most people will be told the range is normal if it's above 30 m/ml, but that's just the bare minimum to prevent rickets, not optimize muscle strength. Ideal range, 50 to 70 m/ml. If you have muscle weakness, fatigue, or insulin resistance, aim for the upper half of that range. If possible, also test magnesium and get a 125 OHD, the active form, if symptoms persist despite supplementation. 2. Supplement smartly. Here's the daily stack I recommend. Vitamin D3, 2,000 to 5,000 IU per day. Take with your largest fat Manning's meal. Best taken in the morning or early afternoon to align with natural sunlight rhythms and avoid melatonin disruption. Vitamin K2, MK7 form per percent. Vitamin K2-3, either in a combo product or separately. Magnesium, 300 to 400 milligrams per day. Best forms: glycinate, calming, malate, energy, or citrate if constipation is an issue. Take in the evening as it also supports sleep and muscle relaxation. Zinc, 10 to 20 micrograms per day with food, not with magnesium. Boron, especially if testosterone or bone health is a concern. If you're starting from a deficiency, use this protocol for 90 days, then retest and adjust. 3. Add sunlight, even briefly. Don't skip this part. Sunlight does more than make vitamin D. It also synchronizes your circadian rhythm, boosts nitric oxide for better circulation, and reduces inflammation. Here's the optimal sunlight protocol. Expose skin to direct sun for 10 to 20 minutes per day Aim for mid-morning or early afternoon. Forearms, hands, legs, and face are enough. No sunscreen during this time, but avoid burning. Even just 15 minutes of real sunlight activates photoreceptors in your skin and eyes that help regulate hormones involved in muscle growth and repair, like testosterone, cortisol, and melatonin, or move your muscles. But respect the recovery window. Vitamin D enhances muscle responsiveness to exercise, but you still need to send that signal. Here's a minimalist movement plan. 3x/weak light resistance training, body weight, bands, or dumbbells. Focus on compound movements like squats, push-ups, or deadlifts. Rest and recover between sets. Don't overtrain. Daily walking. Aim for 6,000 to 8,000 steps. Stretching or mobility before bed, even just 5 minutes. This not only preserves muscle, it also stimulates mitochondrial function and helps vitamin D work more effectively. 5. Track your progress. Strength and energy don't change overnight, but within 4 to 6 weeks, most people feel stronger during everyday movements, less fatigue after walking, climbing stairs, or standing, improved balance and coordination, deeper, more restorative sleep, better mood, and sharper focus. Keep a simple journal to log daily energy, strength, and muscle performance. Optional. Track grip strength, walking speed, or ability to rise from a chair without using your arms. This is how you rebuild muscle from the inside out. Not just with protein, not just with exercise, but by correcting a powerful nutrient deficiency at the root level. So let's step back and connect the dots. If your muscles feel weaker, if simple tasks leave you tired, or if your workouts aren't giving you the results they used to, you're not just getting old. What's really going on is a nutrient deficiency at the cellular level, specifically vitamin D. This one vitamin plays a central role in muscle contraction and strength, energy production through your mitochondria, insulin sensitivity and protein synthesis, recovery, repair, and even balance and coordination. And here's the problem. After age 50, your body becomes less efficient at activating and absorbing vitamin D, especially if you avoid the sun, have digestive issues, or lack magnesium. That's why millions of people have normal blood levels, but still suffer from functional deficiency symptoms. We also covered why vitamin D alone isn't enough. It only works when supported by its critical cofactors like magnesium, vitamin K2, and sunlight. Here's your roadmap. Get tested. Aim for 50 to 70 ni/ml of 25 OHD. Supplement smart. Use D3, not D2. Pair it with magnesium and K2. Eat nutrient-dense foods rich in zinc, boron, and healthy fats. Get natural sunlight exposure. Even 10 to 15 minutes a day helps. Move your body. Even light strength work activates and preserves muscle fibers. When you implement these pieces together, your body starts to respond. Often within a few weeks, you'll feel stronger, less achy, more resilient, and you'll begin reversing the slow muscle loss that sabotages energy, metabolism, and longevity. This is about more than just vitamin D. It's about taking control of your biology so you can stay strong, mobile, and independent long after 50. So here's your challenge. Pick just one thing from today's protocol and start it today. Maybe that's getting 15 minutes of sunlight. Maybe it's adding magnesium at night or switching to a proper D3 plus K2 formula. Start small, stay consistent, and track how your body responds. If this added value for you, click like and subscribe to join others who are taking their health into their own hands with real science and no fluff. I post videos like this every day to help you optimize your metabolic health, energy, and strength naturally and sustainably. All right, thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.